Thanks for joining us. My name is Joe Sweeney. I'm Associate Director of Admissions for the MBA program here. Very excited to have a great group of our current students join us tonight. The biggest thing for tonight is answering your questions. So please go ahead and use the Q&A function in the webinar to send in your questions. I'll monitor all those questions as they're coming in and tee them up for the respective students. We'll start out with some introductions, so feel free to go ahead and start sending in your questions whenever you get them. But we'll have all the students do a quick introduction and then jump right into your questions. We'll target kind of right around an hour. So if we've got any questions that are lingering, we'll either follow up with you after or reply by text after we finish up the webinar. So let's get started. We'll have everybody do a quick introduction and just give their name, what year they are in the program, school that they attended for undergrad, what they were doing before the MBA, and post-MBA career plans. Sam, let's start with you.
All right. So my name's Sam Butler. I'm a second-year MBA. I did my undergrad at West Point. I am still in the Army. I'm here getting my MBA, and I'll go back to do acquisition work for the Army. And this last summer, I interned with Congressional Research Service in DC. And my concentration is business analytics and consulting.
Hi, I'm Martin Cortez. I'm originally from the Philippines. I studied economics back at the University of the Philippines. And prior to my MBA, I was in the energy industry, specifically renewables. During the summer, I summered with McKinsey, and I hope to get back there because my post-MBA plans is in consulting. My concentration is in analytics and consulting.
Hi everyone, my name is Abigail Mayo. I'm a first year in the full-time 2-year MBA program. I went to the University of Cincinnati, so if there's any Bearcats on the call. Sorry, flashback. Went to the University of Cincinnati. I went into hydraulic manufacturing as an operations supervisor and a process specialist, improvement specialist, before coming to Notre Dame. I'm focusing on business analytics and business leadership, and will have my upcoming summer internship with Intel in their supply chain organization in Portland, Oregon, and looking to continue towards that road after my next year.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robbie Singley. I'm from upstate New York. I went to West Point for my undergrad. I was in the Army for 8 years, and I did telecommunications. I was a signal officer. I'm a first year in the 2-year MBA program. My concentration is business analytics and investments. And this summer, I will be interning at Amazon in their product manager tech role, and I hope to continue to do tech post-MBA.
Hi, my name is Shannon Walsh, and I'm a first year here. Prior to B-School, I went to Cal for undergrad, and I worked at a PE firm in Los Angeles doing valuations. I'm currently going into Deutsche Bank as an associate doing investment banking this summer.
I'm Sarah Shoemaker. I actually went to the University of Michigan. I'm an engineer by training, and then I worked at Ford Motor Company for 2.5 years in a rotational program. I'm in the 1-year MBA program, so I will not do an internship, and then I'm actually going to be joining my family's business, which is Interlogic Outsourcing Incorporated. It's a payroll and HR company, and my concentration is marketing.
All right, terrific. Get those questions rolling here. We'll get started. First question is up for everybody. What's been your favorite course so far? Sarah, let's start with you.
Oh, I've enjoyed several of my courses. I actually really enjoyed the marketing analytics course. Having been an engineer undergrad, I've got a lot of experience with modeling, and it was nice to be in a room with people that didn't have that much experience and have a professor that was able to teach everybody who was beginners in the modeling as well as people that had a lot of experience. I still learn new things and learn new ways to manipulate models. So I appreciated the learning environment.
My favorite class so far has been accounting, and for me, it's with Professor Miller, and a lot of people are kind of afraid going into accounting, mostly because they think it's really hard and frustrating. But for me, I think it's really easy to pick up on what he's teaching because he's so passionate about it. And for me, it's really important. It was important for me to kind of pick up on it really quickly because with recruitment for banking, you're already being tested on how depreciation goes through the 3 financial statements. So just being able to do that within the first 3 weeks of school here was really beneficial for me. And so far, I know that the things I've learned in his class, I'm going to have for the rest of my life.
I would say my favorite class so far has been micro econ. It just really gives you a framework of how you look at the world. I think once you start taking your courses here, you'll look back on your old life and you'll say, wow, like I can't believe like these decisions I was making were really, based on this or based on that. So I think it's really good when you can start taking these classes and kind of immediately start applying them to how you make decisions and how you see the world.
I completely agree with Robbie, although the class that I would choose for those same reasons would be our ethics course. Our Foundations of Business Ethics is a core requirement for the program, and it's really discussion based, so you really get to learn a lot about your classmates and how they view the world. And with the diversity that we have here at Notre Dame, you get a wide breadth of opinions, and in doing so, I think you get to see different ways to approach things, as well as know that when you write that cheat code on your calculator for a test, you realize just how unethical you were before coming to Notre Dame.
All right. My favorite course so far is Innovation and Design for 2 reasons. First, I think it's a very cool way of introducing yourself to design thinking, similar to how IDEO does it. So during my time last year, there were projects about redesign of the health center, HIV, about wellness of students, undergraduate students, and right now even how relationships and how they affect health here on campus. The second reason is the professor, Matt Bloom. He's a former Lehman Brothers, trader, and he hated it after some time. And he thought that the best way to advance his knowledge and to have more fulfillment is to actually do some things like this. And it's a really, really dynamic professor. Every class feels like a TED talk for him.
It's actually a tough one, but the class I liked the most was probably Lessons from Turnaround Situations. It's an awesome course, mostly because of the professor, Dan Connors, he's actually an undergrad at Notre Dame, went to Georgetown Law, was a lawyer in the Air Force for 10 years, then went to Wharton for his MBA. He was a consultant for Bain, had a full career there, and then he started his own company, turnaround company, and had entire career there. And he retired and he wanted to give back to Notre Dame. He definitely has a love of Notre Dame, and so he contacted the business school. I don't know the full story, but he essentially said that he wanted to give back and teach this course. And the lessons you learn from turnaround situations, from crises, are the same principles and things that you can use in healthy businesses. So so in that classroom, he brings in the real world. It's a case study based class. He has his perspectives. A lot of the cases that we study and we discuss in those classes, he was actually worked on those cases. Kinko's was one of the companies he turned around, and just be able to get access to that level of knowledge and that experience was awesome.
All right, so next question, we'll break up a couple of these by class. So question for all of our first year students that are here. Do you feel like coming out of the military or civilian sector, you prepared for the coursework, and what was it like being out of school for a while and making that transition back into the classroom?
Yeah, so I was in the Army for 8 years, and I did a range of deployments from Iraq and Afghanistan. I lived in Germany for 3 years, and you're really kind of out of the academic setting, and so it is a little nerve-wracking when you first come back in. But I think there's a great community here. There's a great vet community here, and then just my classmates, and everybody's kind of helping each other out. Everybody has something that they're good at. Everybody has something that they need to get better at, and I think that coming in, once you're here, you're here for a reason. when you get accepted, they know that you're going to do well in the program. They know that you're going to succeed. So really, it's believing in yourself. The teachers here are phenomenal. They're super accessible. I was just surprised at how accessible the teachers were for office hours. And like I said, you bring different things to the table, and I think a lot of your peers you'll find will have expertise in different areas, and you can go reach out to them for help. And so there's a whole community here, and that's really what Notre Dame's based on.
I really appreciated the prep that the program has you do leading up to the start of school. We have a couple options that include an online math-based program that helps you get back into that analytical setting, as well as some boot camps that are offered before orientation in some of the basic business functions like statistics or accounting. And in doing that, it kind of wakes that part of your learning and memory up again before really jumping into those core courses in your first semester here at Notre Dame.
Just to add to that, I took a couple extension courses before going to B school, and I studied a lot on my own. Coming here, the studying pattern has changed. Like Robbie kind of said, you're studying in groups, you're always working with someone. For me, I find myself never really alone working on something, so that's kind of really interesting. Just study with people rather than studying by yourself, which could be beneficial for yourself if you work better that way.
All right. I'll start this one up for whoever wants to jump on first. Can you please speak to the Notre Dame Alumni Network? Have you reached out to alumni, and if so, what kind of experience did you have with their responsiveness?
So I have a great story about that one. Because of where I'm coming and that I'm active duty, it was kind of tough finding an internship because I can't get paid from anybody else. So I had to find an unpaid internship, and any large company is required to pay their interns. So I didn't solidify my internship until kind of the end of the year. Again, I was looking for unpaid, and at one point I talked to Sean Polster in Career Services and asked him, "Hey, help me out, any opportunities you can find." And he put it out there just into the network, that put my resume up and sent it out to a few people. And it was every day I was getting emails and phone calls for like the next week of guys that are like, "Hey, I got unpaid internship position for you." And the funniest one was a private equity firm in Chicago. Their CEO called me. And so we're having this phone conversation. He's like, "Hey, you're coming to work for me. You want to learn good? You want to drink beer? You want to have fun? You're coming to Chicago." And so I was like, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. I literally cannot be paid. And I'm pretty sure your HR is going to require that. And he's like, "I'm the CEO. If you don't want me to pay you, I'm not going to pay you." But it was a fun conversation. Actually, it didn't work out because of the HR. But I got an awesome position at the Congressional Research Service, so it worked out.
Anybody else want to share?
In my experience, there are two ways that they really help me. First is networking, and second is interview preparation. On networking, almost always when you contact a Notre Dame MBA graduate, they will get back to you, whether that be a cold call or for email through LinkedIn, or some of the contact details that they give through the website here in Notre Dame. And I was able to network with some of the consulting firms and some of the energy firms that I talked to. Second, regard to interview preparation, a big part of, at least for consulting, is what they call case interviews. And during my preparation for that, 5 different consultants helped me and gave me mock interviews, including not just Notre Dame MBA grads, but also people who had their undergraduate degrees here. So I really love that part of the alumni network that helped me through the process.
Perfect. All right, Sarah, this one's for you. It's 1 year specific question. What was the summer like, and what's it been like now that you're taking classes with the 2-year students that have already been together for a year? And kind of in general, how do you feel the 1-year program is prepping you for that next step in your career?
So the summer was intense. There's no way to lie about that. You take 11 classes in 10 weeks. For each week, in the morning you're taking one class, the afternoon you're taking another one. Some benefits: the campus is dead. There's nothing going on. It's literally just going to class and getting to know your classmates. They try to get the 1-year class to be about 60 people. My 1-year class was a little bit smaller than that. But you really get to know everybody. They do prep you well with the prereqs so that the first 2 weeks, while intense, you at least know you've learned the material before. And it actually, several of the 1-years share this feeling where while the summer was intense mentally, when you transition into the fall, into Mod 1, it gets intense more in a time juggling. All of a sudden the clubs are coming on, you're taking 4 classes at a time instead of 2. You actually have to remember what you learned 6 weeks ago for the final instead of what you learned 2 weeks ago. But it's just an interesting transition. But at that time, you already have a support network with the 1-years. And all of the students in this program are so nice and so welcoming and very collaborative. So I really had no problems meshing with the first years and the second years. And actually, in the case, we met on the day that we interviewed for admissions, and she's a first year and I'm a 1-year. And so it's nice because you end up meeting people too as you go. All of the networking opportunities before you come to campus are intermixed with other students that are in the full 2-year program. What was the last part? Oh, how is it going to prep me? So the summer, if you have a business background or if you've taken a lot of the classes that are offered in the summer, the 1-year and you have no desire to do an internship, the 1-year program actually prepares you very well. I don't feel like I'm missing out on any opportunities. All of the opportunities open to the second years are also open to the 1-year, so you're treated as if you've been here for 2 years when you come in the fall. And I know that moving forward, I'm learning the same skills. I just did not benefit from getting to practice them in an internship. But as I mentioned before, I did do a rotational program at Ford. And so since I had already had that rotational and kind of felt like a glorified intern for 2.5 years, the idea of another internship didn't really interest me.
Great. All right, next question is going to be for you, Sam. So specifically asking about spouses or family, how have you been able to balance the load of the MBA and family life?
Yeah, so I'm married with 2 boys and a boy number 3 due in a few weeks now, so we're getting there. I mean, it's again, your priorities will be different than your non-married classmates. The academics themselves aren't, so restrictive. I try to make my schedule so I have a class from 10 to noon, and then from noon to 3, it's free time for me. It's my next class until 3, and I try to knock out all my homework and coursework and stuff during those 3 hours, and then I hit my 3 to 5 o'clock class, and then I'm not bringing work home. And some different aspects to it, being married with the different kind of parties. I don't make it to every Thirsty Thursday. I try to do one a month just to, socialize and get out. And last year, my wife and I would do 1 for 1. So like she would go out to Thirsty Thursday, and the next Thirsty Thursday I would go out. But I mean, it all depends on like how you can manage that. Now, like, it is a lot to going on because you are going to be doing recruiting, you are going to have club activities and academics, plus, your family activities. So, I mean, with everything, even, the unmarried folks, they have to prioritize. They can't do everything. It's the same thing, just your priority list is a little different.
All right. Question for anybody who wants it. How would you describe the environment within your class? Would you say it's very supportive, competitive, or a little bit of both?
Again, I would say it's a little bit of both, and I would say that it's definitely very supportive. It's definitely competitive, but it's in a good way because we're all pushing each other to do better, and I think that's something that's important in the class. We have core teams. For the first years, we have our teams that we have, and it's good to be in these learning teams because you use them for your projects, and these are the folks that you're studying with, that you're learning with, that you're commiserating with when things aren't going well in a class. But additionally, there is a competitive nature to it, but it's just pushing you to be better. And that's what I really enjoy about the community and the environment.
we're competing in a marketing simulation right now where our core teams are against each other. So like I'm up against Shannon's team in the simulation, and so we're working together as a group to sell the most computers in this simulation, and in the course the top performing team gets a slightly better grade than the others. So there is that bit of competition, but we also went to some career fairs earlier in the school year, and everyone is swapping questions with what the company asked, so the other person is better prepared. We're sharing company notes before they're interviewing with that same company. So it's really a little bit of both with a heavy hand on being sportive.
All right, that kind of leads into our next question here. With regards to the career search, how soon did you start speaking with career coaches in regard to internships for first year or in terms of full-time offers for year two? And how much did you do off campus as opposed to on campus from a recruiting standpoint?
I'll take that one. After 2 weeks when school first started, classes started, we had a couple alums come on campus for investment banking, and after that week, you're supposed to contact your contacts right away and have a list that you want to pursue. And I had a list of 50, and I realized, it's more like 10, 5, and I was probably on the phone 2 to 4 hours a day for a good 2.5 months. And you're scheduling during the day, doing your classes, trying to figure out when you can get on the call with people, but you're able to make it work.
And I would add, it's different across, the type of industry. So investment banking is much earlier. It's a little bit intense. Not that I know, but my friends that go through it,
You're done much earlier too, which is a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And then for the other ones, for generally the internships, the recruiting season doesn't really open until November, but really you don't start interviewing until January, February, March, unless you're super motivated, like Stingley and lock it in.
Yeah, I'm talking about my experience. So during the spring before you start business school, there'll be different opportunities you can find out that happen out during the summer. There's different information sessions that companies will hold, or there's different programs. Being a vet, there's, Google has a Google Veteran Summit. There's all types of things with consulting and banking. So just make sure that you're aware of those things, especially as you become accepted to schools, because you'll be able to take advantage of these, because schools will want to know that you have or companies will want to know that you have an acceptance by a school. And so I was able to take advantage of a pretty big information session put on by Polis and Quants in New York City. And so I showed up to campus on Notre Dame, and I was like, hey, I've got 2 interviews, one with Google and one with Amazon. And the career service was super supportive. They met with me during the time that I had during kind of our orientation. I was in between, meeting during lunch, coming in early in the mornings, and they were super supportive. They prepared me really well, and I was able to knock it out and get my Amazon internship within like the first 6 weeks of school. So.
All right, next question. Let's do everybody on this one. What organizations are you involved in outside of classwork, and how they enhanced your Mendoza experience? Abby, let's start with you.
Well, I'm the person who signed up for everything. My recommendation is don't. If you're like me, you wanted to be a part of everything in high school and undergrad, you spread yourself too thin and thought you learned your lesson. Well, let me tell you, you go right back to those old habits. So hopefully you can take my advice and learn from that beforehand. But the ones that I've become really, really involved in are the Women in Business Club and the Business Analytics Club. And I've recently been appointed to the MBA Association as a first-year representative. So I'm learning from the second-year SVP of clubs, who organizes the club schedule, makes sure that if there's a lot of students interested in consulting and finance, that those clubs aren't having events during the same time. That way we can all make the most of our experience. And I'm really self-running a lot of the programming and creating a lot of opportunity for the other students here. That amount of impact is available for everyone. I think that's a lot of why the people who are here on the webinar with you are great examples of how they've done that on campus already.
So I'm primarily active in 3 clubs. First is the consulting club. Second is the LGBTQ club, which is up for approval by the university. And third is the energy and resources club. I'm also involved in some volunteering in Chicago whenever I'm there. So I think it's a mix of both within Mendoza and also outside of the university.
So I'm the president of the Ambassadors Club, which is a function within the admissions committee. And that's really just kind of coordinating for the folks that apply and come to campus for interviews. It's coordinating the host for you, the people that take you to lunch and talk to you before your interview and, prep you with questions before you get to campus. And I'm also the Veterans Outreach Chair for the MBA Vets Club. And that's in that role, I help other vets that are applying in business schools. It's not, our club takes the perspective, we want to recruit the highest quality vets, to come to Notre Dame, but really we look at it as a service. We just want to help other vets get into MBA programs. And so we interact with folks from all over and help them through the general application process.
So the MBA Association that Abby mentioned, I'm the SVP of Community Outreach for that. So my responsibility is to arrange all service activities that are open to all of the MBA students. And it's one of 4 positions that are held just for one-year MBAs. So there's also an opportunity to be the vice president, SVP of alumni relations. There's there's a 1-year and a 2nd year that are involved with the student activities and then my position. And so that's my most active role. And then a lot of the clubs offer some great support in terms of prepping for interviews. I wasn't looking for that since I already had my job lined up since I'm going to my family's business. But I go to all of the speakers that come in and training sessions that are offered by the Business Analytics Club, Management Club, Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital, and what's the 4th club? I was just thinking about that. Yes, thank you.
Business Club.
So I go to the social events for that. And so you can kind of gauge how involved you want to be, but I chose those clubs because I knew they would have speakers and learning sessions that would be relevant to me.
I'm the opposite of Abby. I knew going into my first mod that I had to be careful with my time, so I did join 2 clubs, the Finance Club and Women's Club. Really good clubs. The Finance Club was really helpful in preparing for interviews, for investment banking. You worked with 2nd years on prepping and going through materials. And then Women's Club, they just had a lecture yesterday on negotiation for women's salary, which was really interesting too. But now there's so many options that I know now I can kind of look at what I really want to do and be more careful of where I want to put my time, and knowing that I know I'm going to be able to make a good impact here.
So I'm in the tech club, and the tech club is great because it definitely has information sessions to show people about the different tech companies that are interested in Notre Dame or the different tech companies that are out there. Additionally, within the tech club right now, I'm helping plan a tech case competition for the spring, which is something that was kind of the president of the tech club just asked me if I wanted to help out with that, and he's giving me a lot of responsibility. So that's just something that's awesome that I can take a part of. As a vet, I'm also part of the vet club, and the vet club is an amazing community. Firstly, for the vets that are seeking internships or jobs, the vet club has all types of access and connections. There's a big veterans conference that happened in Chicago this year that the vet club really helped to make sure the vets had awareness of it, and they were able to get out there, and they even paid, the conference was like $250 and the vet club covered it. So it's a really awesome club, especially if you're a vet coming in and you've been out of school for a while. It's just a great community to be a part of. So those are the 2 clubs that are Mendoza specific. I'm also part of the Notre Dame Toastmasters, and it's really just a public speaking club that's offered here at Notre Dame. It's not within Mendoza, the business school, but it's an awesome program. It's open to graduate students as well. So I take a part of that. So
And I do want to add one more thing that I forgot I was involved in for a second. So Notre Dame has also started a Board Fellows program. They're doing the pilot program this year where you apply, and if selected, you get matched with a non-for-profit in the area, and you have the opportunity to sit on the board as a non-voting member for 6 months. And so I was matched with the Neighborhood Resources Connection, and it's actually opened up a lot of great opportunities. I wasn't sure if I was going to make it here tonight because I was getting to be part of a group of 15 people that got to speak with Mayor Pete Buttigieg, Mayor of South Bend, which was the perk that I was not expecting to get out of joining that opportunity, but that is an opportunity that should be open to everybody that comes in next year.
That's kind of a nice segue into the next question here as well. How's the idea of social impact translated to what you've done both inside the classroom or outside the classroom? So, kind of a nice example from Sarah. Who else wants to share an example here, either inside or outside the classroom?
First, there's this course in Notre Dame MBA called Business on the Front Lines, where group of students are sent to some post-conflict scenarios outside of the United States and propose a business solution so that either you can prevent conflict there or help the cessation of conflict there. So for example, in my case, this March, I'll be flying to Uganda with four of my classmates and an alumna, and we will be proposing a solution to a non-governmental organization which builds schools in northern Uganda. So that's something that's been in Notre Dame for 10 years, and it's been every year we have 5 or 6 projects like that.
I'll second that as well. Now this isn't my presentation, but I took this class as well when I went through the program, and I'm also one of the faculty advisors. So my team's going to be going to Colombia to work with transitioning FARC rebels in the coming year. And I think both in terms of social impact and then the learnings that you draw from it are really incredible. The professor for the class is an ex-partner from McKinsey, and she demands an incredibly high level of work. So there's a lot of great learning that you get from it, in addition to an incredible international experience and a great social component as well. So, kind of piggybacking on that too. Next question: what's been your best out of the classroom learning experience during your time at Notre Dame so far? Tee that up for anyone. Either structured within the program or unstructured.
My best experience has been with a new staff member to Notre Dame, our experiential learning coach, Alice Obermiller, came from Chicago Booth, and I had sought her out during orientation to go over some of the assessments that we take, called the Leadership Circle, to really digest what it was telling me, how I could improve myself. I had done similar assessments with work before and wanted to see kind of what were my strengths, how I could work on them, how I could incorporate those goals into my MBA experience. And in doing so, it really became like a confidence therapy session almost. And I don't think people utilize her enough. But it just goes to show the experience is what you make it. And that was something that I needed to make my MBA experience the best possible. So that's something that you could do as well.
So outside of the classroom experience, for me, it's the football basically. So
Yes.
coming to Notre Dame before this, I've been following Notre Dame football since 2012. And I have to wake up like 3:30 a.m. every Sunday to watch the game live. And finally watching it not in unholy hours is a great thing. And just the atmosphere within the stadium is amazing, and being part of that tradition. So that's one of the best out of classroom experiences I've had here in Notre Dame.
All right.
Yeah. One other aspect is this year was a little different, but last year was in my first year, our interterm intensive that we did, So it's a week or 4-day kind of session that takes place between the first and second mod. So in the first semester has 2 mods to it, so it's in that fall. And we had AT&T actually came to campus and gave us a problem to work through. And basically on the first day, the AT&T reps were there. They briefed on the problem and took questions from us. And then the next three days after that, the time was ours as a group, and it was a competition between the entire first year class. And you're in groups of 5, and there's like some benchmarks you hit. On the second day, you kind of have to show them your advisor kind of what your plan is and where you're going. He kind of gives you left and right. And then on the last day, on that Thursday, we come in and we actually brief the AT&T reps, based on the data we got from them and the question they're looking to solve. And, we had 12 minutes to do a brief back to them and then 3 minutes for questions. And they did that for the entire class. It was a really cool case competition. My team won, so obviously we learned a lot. But it was cool being in that environment where we had a real world problem to work on, and really we were on our own time and how we wanted to solve it.
All right, we got a comment here from a Michigan undergrad saying "Go Blue." I don't want any of that, but we'll go ahead and answer the question anyway.
In September.
Yeah. In your experience so far, how has the MBA program helped advance or reinvent your career path?
All right. So I think this is the best decision I've made ever, because for 2 reasons. First, shifting into a career that I think I would love more. So I've spent all my career and energy, and I thought that the change into a consulting career is something that I like, because you get to work on projects with 3 or 4 months at a time. So I get to explore many industries. And more importantly for Notre Dame itself, I think, and it goes back, I think, to the nature of the class, which is not uber competitive, but it's largely collaborative. And the way I think that happens is the small class size helps a lot. When there's small class size, most likely during the course of your stay here in the MBA program, you're going to meet them again a second time or a third time. So there is a natural barrier against transactional relationships, because eventually you will be together. It's not a one-time relationship. So I think that provides that environment where not just collegial relationships exist, but actual friendships are cultivated. So I think that's very life-changing in a way, because I think I don't have a lot of business colleagues who are also my friends, and I think in this case you merge them, and it becomes a really life-changing experience for that matter.
Great. All right, next question here. What were the main reasons you chose Notre Dame for your MBA, and what other programs were you considering?
Okay.
Let's do 2 or 3 folks here on this one.
I'll start off. So I would say I was looking at other schools in the city. I'm from New York. I'm from upstate New York, so I was definitely looking at schools in the city. I was also looking at schools on the West Coast in major cities. But what I really loved about Notre Dame was the community. One, being a vet, there's a big vet population here, so that was good. Secondly, I realize now that I'm here, it's good to be away from the city. Chicago's 2 hours away, either by driving or by train. So it's great to have access to Chicago there. But being here, being with my classmates that are kind of here, we're all learning together. In I think in a city school, people kind of disperse. If they've been there, they've lived there, they have their city friends. But here, we're all kind of like moving to this area. So we're all kind of here, stuck here, but in a good way, where we're kind of learning from each other, and we're kind of, because these are people later on, you may not remember the specifics of how this account worked in accounting or this principle of economics, but what you are going to take away from this is the relationships. So having the small class size and having the ability to build a relationship with my classmates, I think that was something that I saw and I'm seeing now, and that's what I really appreciate for the program.
Although I love my boyfriend very much, the weekends that I go to see him in Chicago, I feel a huge amount of FOMO, from all of the activities that our classes are doing here on the weekends. So take it or leave it.
And on that note here, we've got a question here. Outside of club activities, what are other extracurriculars that you like doing either on campus or in the South Bend community?
One of the volunteering events that the first year class has really expanded on is volunteering on Fridays when we don't have scheduled classes. So we volunteer during the days at the South Bend Animal Shelter. So a group of 10 or 12 of us and growing will go over and walk the dogs or socialize with the cats that they post there for an hour and a half. So it's not a lot of time commitment, but it's something that really makes an impact on the community. And I know that that's something that Mayor Heat has done a lot of work with the South Bend area and to bridge those relationships so that you're really not, when you go off campus, it's not like you're at odds with the area around you.
One of the things that I love to do is running, and I love running on campus. Getting to run around the lakes is absolutely beautiful. If you lived in a city and you always get annoyed with having to stop at the lights every block, you can go for a very long run without ever getting stopped by a light, maybe by a car at a stop sign, but that's about it. And then there's an area to change in the basement too. So I'm unique. I'm from the area, and I'm actually commuting a half hour. So being able to just get out of class, go downstairs, change in one of the changing areas, go for a run without really having to go all the way to the gym or do something. That accessibility is really nice, and being able to just step out and go on a beautiful run is awesome.
And from a family perspective, I don't know if anybody's out there wondering, like this last summer, like the fall before when we came back, we went on a camping trip out in Indiana Dunes. Like all along the east coast of Lake Michigan is, really nice. It's a vacation area. There's lots of hiking to do. My kids they're in their soccer leagues. They do gymnastics. My 4-year-old does ice skating lessons every Sunday in the Compton Ice Arena on campus. It's like incredibly cheap, and they have like the undergrads on the ice skating team or figure skating team teach the classes. And he's building up to get to hockey, and he'll start actually a hockey 101 in January. But I mean, we're members of the zoo in town. The key thing, like South Bend isn't a major city. It's small, but it's big enough where you have all the amenities that you want from a big city. There's a theater in town that has a recliner couches and a bar, like a movie. So it's big enough to have those cool things that cities have, but there's no rush hour. There's no real commuting. There's no beltway. It's pretty nice.
For me, I think a resource that I really take advantage of is with other international students on campus. And I think 2 weeks ago when we lost to Miami, I watched that with other international students. They commiserated with us. But the idea here is there are a lot of resources for international students, and I've met a lot of friends there too.
All right. One or two folks on this one. What sets the Notre Dame MBA apart from other programs?
For me, when I was looking at schools, what really set Notre Dame apart was the constant desire to not only say that they're asking more of business and have a positive social impact, but actually doing that and having that weave through everything you learn, everything you hear. I really appreciated that. And then the collaborative environment. I did my bachelor's and my master's at Michigan. So I did take some classes at Roth during my master's in engineering with the MBAs there. And that one experience was competitive enough for me to realize that while I loved Michigan and it was a great place for engineering, it wasn't the place for me for business school, and the collaborative environment here really attracted me.
Let me preface this by saying I have a lot of Michigan Ross friends, and I'm sure that this is not about the comparison, but to be honest about it, I can't really say that this is like what sets Notre Dame apart. I think the good thing that I can say is a big part of the small class size helps you become not just a cog in the wheel or one of the many students who attend the business school. I think you can gain some you can gain some fame or some notoriety if that's what you want. But I think it helped me know more out of my classmates, because I think we're here, we're in South Bend, not very close to some other large cities. So it helped me a lot communicate with them and build friendships with them. So I think what sets Nordim apart maybe is that it's that small class size, that very collaborative nature, and yeah, I think that really made me like my stay here in Nordim.
The accessibility of the 1-year program, but then still being able to intertwine with the 2 years and get access to the same professors is also very attractive and great opportunity that you also get really close with all of your classmates.
Yeah, I'd just like to add on there, like the professors, I'm sure elsewhere, but professors here are super accessible. I remember in the first year with Jason Reed, the microeconomics class, like he was going to a wedding in California and was like telling us his schedule. He's like, all right, so I'll be on the plane from like 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. But after that, I can respond if you guys got questions. Then at the wedding is from this time on Saturday. So I can't respond here, but between the wedding, there's like a 2-hour block before the reception. And like, it was like, go have the weekend. Like, I know, like, but that's all the teachers are like that. If you have a question, email them. Like, they have to have the office hours. So the first class, they'll tell you what their office hours are. But every teacher's like, just email me. We'll talk. We'll schedule a time.
Come visit.
They're
Call me.
super accessible.
All right, let's do 1 or 2 people on this question. What do you wish you knew this time last year or 2 years ago when you were looking at programs? Shannon, let's start with you.
I think looking back and learning more about the process, I really wish I was more open and more fun with my PowerPoint presentation, which is great. And I think it was good. It wasn't good as Abby's.
So one of the new events that we did this year to get to know our classmates better was a voluntary showing of the 4 slides that you need to submit during the application process. And it really came from just a conversation that we had over celebrating someone's birthday about how different ours were and how it really showed the personality of each person in our class. So that was a new event that we just had a couple weeks ago. So as the event coordinator, I volunteered mine up to the entire class, and it was very square and boxed and templated in Microsoft PowerPoint. So that was going to be mine, is that I wish I knew what I was going to put on that, because last year I had no idea what I was going to write and kind of honestly did it last minute, but that's when I do my best work sometimes, is under that pressure. So obviously it came together, but as my one piece of advice, make it who you are. It doesn't matter if it's a white background with black lettering and that's it, or if it's a full cartoon, like we had someone in our class hand draw and put it into PDF. So be creative and be who you are, and that's why Notre Dame is going to accept you, because that's how we see each other as a class.
Just to go off of that, I think I wish, what I know now is that I wish I didn't worry about it as much, because I think I might have been embarrassed, or I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't put that, but I really was like, no, like, just be who you are and it'll be good.
I'll piggyback on that from an admissions standpoint. It's my favorite part of the application to read too. Your test scores are what they are, your transcripts are what they are, but there's a lot more to you as a person than numbers on a page, and the slide presentation is a really good way to bring in that personality, and they're all different, which is really great to see. So. All right, we've got time for a couple more questions here. We've got a couple questions coming in about international study opportunities. Has anybody done one of the trips yet, the immersion trips?
No, they're currently in Chile.
So I have friends that have. I can talk to them, but.
Yeah, I'll say we'll have Sam speak about that, but as they pointed out, we've got about 20 students that are actually studying abroad in Santiago, Chile right now. So most of the people who are kind of best equipped to answer this question are actually doing it. So we have a program that runs from fall break until Christmas. So you'll take a full set of classes in Chile. I did this when I was a student. It was an incredible experience. I was talking to a couple of them today, and they were all in Mendoza, Argentina over the weekend. Most of them have been to Patagonia already. They've been up to the Atacama Desert in the north of Chile. So it was a really incredible experience from that standpoint. Coursework is also really cool too. They're taking Latin American econ with one of the directors for the Chilean central bank, and so they got to have a class in the boardroom for the central bank a couple weeks ago as well. So pretty cool opportunity there. I don't know.
That's good.
All right.
That's a good area.
So we'll check that one off. And then, as Martin mentioned before, too, Business on the Frontlines also has an international component that tends to be pretty outside the box in locations. Martin's going to Uganda. I'm going to Colombia. We also have teams this year going to Brazil, Guatemala, and the West Bank. Yeah.
Well, West Bank.
The West Bank. That's an important distinction.
Important distinction.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you don't want to jump full in, but it's important to you, that was one of my decisions coming back to business school. That's something that I really wanted to do. I played tennis for the University of Cincinnati, so I never really got to study abroad, take classes abroad when I was in my undergrad. Over our spring breaks, we have opportunities to go to Chile and Brazil, as well as China. And so there's large groups of students who take that option instead of doing the case competition that Sam mentioned earlier. So you can get that little piece of exposure to other economies and other parts of the world without having to spend a full 7 weeks of the football season.
It's an important consideration. All right. What piece of advice would you give us if we were to attend Mendoza next year?
Do it.
Housing. Overlook, I'd recommend it for the single grad students, and then the Foundry is also a good option. Seems to be a good way to go about it, even for like the your first year. Just get a single loft in the Overlook, and then after that first year, as you make some friends, you can get a 2-room apartment in the Foundry. It's a little bit closer. They have 3 bars on the first floor with Jimmy John's and Chipotle. It's like an 800-meter walk to class. And if you split a room with somebody that one of your friends from the first year and your second year, it actually comes out cheaper than the Overlook. But
piggyback on that for you, Sam. For folks with families, where's some good places to live?
Fair enough.
yeah, I'm actually working on a change communication project that deals with this issue. Close to campus, there's not too many that aren't. It gets a little cost restrictive. I live in the Foundry, so I have a 3-bedroom apartment. It's plenty of space for me, the wife, and the 2 boys. And we like it because it's close to class. And we're in the middle of the community on football game weekends. We're just in the center of all the energy. But for folks that want more of the single family homes, to the east of campus, a few blocks on the east side, there's a Road 23. There's a pretty good neighborhood that has some rentals there. And then other than that, a lot of professors and a lot of our classmates that have kids and dogs will actually get places out in Granger, which is about a 15-minute drive. And like that's the long commute on South Bend, 15 minutes from Granger, or Mishawaka, which is similarly just east instead of northeast.
I think, I was going to say, pace yourself, because when you get here, there's so much going on. The classes come at you quick. We're on the mod system, so it's just rapid fire, just 7 weeks of classes. But that is intertwined with preparing for an internship, preparing for your interviews, which is intertwined with football. And so for those that don't know, I went to school in upstate New York, not a huge college football place. College, they say football, but game day here is intense. This place shuts down, and it becomes all about football. It's awesome. It's completely awesome. I've never experienced anything like it, but it's just crazy because it shuts down, and so you have to plan for that because that's going to take up your weekend. But it's great. It's an awesome event. It's a great way to learn your classmates, and alumni are going to come back, and so it's a great way to network. So it's a totally awesome event. But then there's all sorts of social events, and then there's things going on in Chicago that are related for people for finding jobs. So you have to make that distinction. Oh, am I going to take the weekend to go to Chicago to go to this event or do this, conference and things like that? So really just pace yourself. There's a lot of great stuff that's going on. You can't do everything, but there's a lot of good stuff. You just have to, pick and choose what you want to do.
I have one thing, and this is more general about pursuing an MBA. Reflect on yourself. What do you really want to take out of an MBA? And part of it may be which company would you like to belong to, which types of industry you would like to belong to, what type of practice or function, because I think that will help you a lot when you have a clear goal getting into business school. Because if you're still thinking about it when you come over here, it's gonna take away time from learning, it's gonna take away time from preparing. So I think look at this really as both a financial and a personal investment, and treat it as such. Make sure that you know what you want to take out of it, and talk to email students from Notre Dame. I think in the website there's a list of people with our nice headshots on who you can email, and if you email maybe 5 to 10 people, that's great. Seek their advice regarding career prospects and how Notre Dame can help you. I think that's the best way you can gain something out of your maybe future classmates or future alumni of Notre Dame.
One of the great analogies that we were given in our career development class within the first mod is that this is your off season for your career. And whether you're 20 years in or 1 year in to your career after undergrad, this is your time to invest in yourself and to not only know, maybe you don't know what company you want to work for or what industry. There's a lot of services here that will help you decide that along your time in the program. But I think it's almost more important to know the kind of person you want to be and have that sort of vision in your head of who you look like when you're graduating. And that'll help design your off season while you're here at Notre Dame.
All right, we've got just a couple minutes left, so we're going to do one final question for everybody here, and then we'll wrap it up. I'll shoot a couple additional answers by text through the chat function, so if you've still got an outstanding question, we'll try and get to as many of those as we can. But for the students, I do want to be respectful of their time because, as you've heard, they've got a lot going on. They're pretty busy. So last question, and let's go ahead and hear from everybody on this just really quickly. What's been your favorite thing so far about the program? We'll start with Sam, we'll go around.
Yeah, the environment, coming in with the family and the kids, I'll take the kids into the school here down the hallway. Rachel will come over. She has friends in the program, just like I have friends in the program. It's just an inclusive climate, and it's just a fun environment.
I think classmates, career opportunities, and the campus itself.
Something we really haven't talked about on the webinar is the fact that Notre Dame is a Catholic school. I myself am, but for my friends who are in the program who are not, who aren't even Christian, I think that Notre Dame does a really great job at balancing their exposure, and it's really up to your choice whether you want to be a part of that part of the university or not. And if you don't want to, from my friends, they've said they really haven't felt pressured in any way, shape, or form. So something to know.
I would say that the impact of the MBA, I'm already starting to see the positive benefits from it. Coming from a military background that wasn't necessarily quantitative all the time like you are in the business world, I'm already beginning to think quantitatively. Additionally, being in the military, being an officer, you're usually in charge of people. So now I'm able to be on a team where you don't have institutional authority. So you're learning to work as a team, which will benefit me in corporate America when I'm on a team. So just seeing the positive effects already of the program that I can apply to just my life. So.
I would have to say it's the community of friends here, and living in the Foundry, you can just kind of roll out of bed on a Saturday after a game day or Sunday, I mean, and just go downstairs and have breakfast with your friends. You get to see your friends 4 hours a day. I get to sit next to him every day for 4 hours, which I really enjoy. And it's just a really interesting group of people here, and everyone comes from different backgrounds, so you're able to really get exposed to different markets and different theories, different perspectives, and you learn so much, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm gonna emphasize the people again. Everybody from admissions, career services, student services, professors, and especially the classmates. I live on a lake, and I invited all 42 of the 1 years to my house, plus spouses, significant others, and kids. And so we had 60 people. And normally that would be a very daunting, overwhelming thought and experience and exhausting. And it was not. Everybody was amazing. They helped with everything. My favorite was I was still down by the water when everybody left. I came upstairs thinking I was going to have a mess of a house. 5 people had stayed behind, cleaned up my entire house, torn down all the tables that were up, and my dishes were done. Everybody left my house at 10:30 and I went to bed. And it's just, to be surrounded by that many people that are that helpful is really a great experience. And then to echo Abby, I am not Catholic or Christian, and I have felt zero pressure. I was concerned about that coming in, and I went to private schools that were non-denominational, and while the Catholic values definitely ring true, I've never felt any pressure to join in on anything.
Well, terrific. Well, thanks so much to all of our students. For everybody out there that's still watching, I'll finish up a couple more of these questions by text, but we'll go ahead and shut it down right now. We'll have communications coming out for you on the next webinars, but before Christmas, we're going to have webinars on alumni relations and kind of ongoing alumni opportunities within the program after graduation, and also another student panel focused specifically on diversity issues here at Notre Dame. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for those. If you're not able to join us on any of those from a specific time standpoint, you'll be able to find them on the website after, along with all the other webinars that we've done up to this point this year. So thanks for joining us. And again, special thanks to our students. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Go ND.